So it might be. It's on. We good, Tom? Okay, let's do it. Okay, guys, what we're going to do, we're going to do two things tonight. We're going to review Job through Ecclesiastes, and we're going to do this map with a little bit more additions to the map now. And then as we go forward into the prophets deal a lot with Assyria and Babylon and Persia. So we're going to hit those. We're going to look at the Fertile Crescent. We're going to look at some of the different trade routes, and it's going to start making a lot of sense. But I want to just put a couple of major things that you should know about. We're going to hit that, and we're also going to hit Jerusalem a little bit tonight. So we're going to add that into the test for next week. So you're not going to be quizzed on it, you're going to be tested on it tonight. So I think everybody's here tonight, is that right? Everybody's here. Wow, that's impressive. Cold seasons, everything going on, we're here. Cool. When you guys do a map, you've seen me do it over and over and over again, but I would strongly encourage you to start this way with your map. It's so much easier, guys, if you just draw that unbelievably smooth coastline of Israel. That is key. So if you're going to do a map, you just start coming down from Phoenicia. It's got that little bay area, and that's not right. Bay area, and it just goes on down like this over to to the Sinai Wilderness. So this is modern day Haifa, right in this little natural bay right here. So that's Haifa in today. This last trip, we didn't go to Haifa. If you went this 2 years ago, we went to Haifa. There's nothing for us to see in Haifa except the world headquarters of the Baha'i religion is in Haifa. Beautiful flowers, beautiful gardens. It's a cult, false religion. Ain't nobody got time for that, so we don't go there anymore. Forget about it. But that's it. So Baha'i is right here. Baha'i says, if you like it, we believe it too, basically. I just believe a little bit of everything. But at any rate, I almost became Baha'i. It was interesting. When I was in college at Southwest State in Marshall, it was a college for handicapped students, and I was in pre-med, and my pre-med advisor said it'd be good for you to go there for a while and hook up with one of the folks that was, half the student body was in wheelchairs, either paraplegics or quadriplegics or some CPs. So when you enrolled, you were assigned to one of the students who's handicapped. And my guy was a guy named Steve Hansen. He was a paraplegic, he was a jock. He played on the basketball team and the hockey team there, wheelchair hockey, wheelchair basketball. But he was a jock from northern Minnesota. He was a high school kid, jumped off the bridge, swimming, and then one of his friends jumped off right behind him and landed on him and snapped his back and paralyzed from the waist down. Very embittered about that. That was my guy. So I made sure he got to class. They had tunnels, Minnesota Gophers and all. We had these underground tunnels. So in the winter, you kind of stay in the tunnels. But in the summer, I'd just make sure he got around. And he was real good looking guy. So we'd go to restaurants and that, and all the girls come over and talk to him and hang out. And I was a little fresh. He was a sophomore. I was a little freshman dude. And I'd just watch him, and then he'd swing into his chair, and you'd see the girls kind of walk away. And I felt so bad I was taking him back home. It was just sad. But anyway, that's Steve. But across the hall was another guy who was a quad. And he had a girlfriend who was AB, an able-bodied. She was Baha'i. And she really talked to me a lot about the Baha'i faith. And I read some books on it. I wasn't a Christian. I was just a little Lutheran kid at college going, I don't know, I'm just studying chemistry. I don't know. But I listened to a lot of the Baha'i stuff, and it was so different from my Lutheranism. And it intrigued me because some of the people in my hall there were following the Baha'i faith. So when I got saved and I started looking at Baha'i, I go, oh, thank you, God, for sparing me from that, because that is some whacked up stuff right there. That's way whacked. But their headquarters is right there in Haifa. And there isn't a time I draw this, I don't think of Haifa, and I don't think of Baha'i, and I think of my time in college, and Lord, thank you for not letting me get involved, and I just keep on going. But at any rate, neither here nor there, but it's a review night, we can do that. So there we are. So you draw this is a good place to start. The next thing I would encourage you to do is draw the Sea of Galilee. Now, we don't worry about Lake Hula. There's a little lake up here. Don't worry about that, because that lake isn't even there anymore. It was there in the map, but it has no biblical significance. If you want to be exact, you can put Lake Hula up there, but it's not necessary. The Sea of Galilee, there are 3 sources of the Sea of Galilee. We're not going to worry about that. The Jordan River runs down to the Dead Sea. That's all you have to really know for bodies of water for now. Later on, in our next unit, we're going to get into the Red Sea down here. And we'll get down there and Elat and all that goes with that, but not now. Not now. So this is all we're going to worry about. So start off with that. I strongly encourage you to start off with that. When you see that, you should know Mediterranean Sea here. You should know Sea of Galilee here. Jordan River here. Dead Sea here. Now this isn't exact, but if you just go a little bit north of the Dead Sea up here, about to here, you're going to get one river flowing out from it and another river flowing over here. The Yarmouth and the Jabbok. The Jabbok is important because that's where Jacob spent the night when he wrestled with the angel. And had his hip popped out and everything. And what's interesting is Seir, or Edom, is down here. So Esau comes up to meet Jacob. Jacob's coming up from here. They meet on this side of the river. Remember, he sends over all the different herds and everything. Then he sends his family over and everything. They meet on this side of the river. And then Esau says, let's just all go together and go down to my place, man. Jacob has just had his meeting with the angel of the Lord, with the pre-incarnate Christ, a theophany. He's walking different now. He's got a hip. And whenever you have an all night of wrestling with the Lord, you're going to walk differently, that's for sure. And he does, physically differently. So he says, let's go together. And Jacob, still being Jacob, he's had his moment. He's still Jacob. It's a process. Sanctification is a process, remember. Jacob says, I got the kids. I got all these women. I got all this stuff. You guys are with 400. You're here with 400 men that can ride. You guys just head back. I'll be behind you. We got this. So Esau, you sure? Yeah, okay. So Esau says, I'll see you there. Esau goes to Seir. It says Jacob goes to Succoth, which is right here. No, right here. Right here, right here. Succoth over here. And then he goes to Shechem, which is right over here. So he goes not in the direction he said he's going to go. He says, you go down back home to Edom. I'll be right behind you. And he ends up in Shechem. And while he's in Shechem, Dinah gets raped. And we have the death of all the Shechemites there between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, remember? And Levi and Simeon get in some serious trouble as a result of all this. That all takes place here. Jacob, still lying. He's had his moment, but he's still a deceiver. He's back in his flesh a little bit. God speaks to him and he says, go back to Bethel where you said you're going to go. Get down here to Bethel. Bethel means house, Beth. El, God, house of God. Get to the house of God. And it's a beautiful picture. You start looking at word meanings and all this stuff. You see a guy who comes to a personal relationship with God. He still messes up a little bit. And God says, get to the house of God. He gets down to Bethel, and Jacob's life goes on. It's just kind of interesting. That's the importance of the Jabbok River. So that's why I want you to know that river. Okay, so that's the bodies of water. Kind of got them? That we're going to look at for this quiz or this test next week. So when you look at that, that makes sense, yes? Pretty much? Now we look at the mountains. Oh, I would encourage you to start up here with Mount Hermon. I'm not going to put mountain. You know it's what it is. James, this is that Mount of Transfiguration. It really should be up here, but I don't want to write on the wall. So, but that's where it is. Mount Hermon is up north. That is the only true mountain in all of Israel. The rest of them are hills, mesas. That's a real mountain. Snow on there, sometimes 12 months out of the year. So it's a real mountain. It's a beautiful mountain, Mount Hermon. Then you come over here, and this isn't really a mountain, it's a range. And all this mountain range, a small little mountain range, that's all called Carmel, Mount Carmel. South and a little bit west is Mount Tabor. Now Tabor, when you go to Israel, it looks like a snow cone cup upside down. And then just round out and make that a pointy tip. It looks like that. Not very tall, it just sits out there, there it is. And you're looking, when you're on Mount Carmel, you're like, oh, that's Mount Tabor. And then now you'll know the map, you'll know, oh, just to the south, that's going to be Gilboa. You're going to be able to spot them when you go over there now because you're going to know where they are. That's Mount Tabor. That is Catholicism's Mount of Transfiguration. When you look at the book of Matthew and you come to the Mount of Transfiguration, you see what takes place just prior to it. They're at Caesarea Philippi, right over here. Now this is up here. So here's Mount Hermon. This marker is Mount Hermon. It's the only true mountain. Okay, there it is. It's way over there. Caesarea Philippi is right here. Matthew 16, Caesarea Philippi is where Jesus says, who do men say that I am? You're the Christ, Son of the living God and all. Then the next thing that happens is the Transfiguration. To go all the way down here, if you've been on the bus, you know what that is. That's a trip. And then to go all the way back up here, because after 17, they're still up here. It doesn't fit the context, and this mountain isn't, it's a hill. This is a mountain. So evangelical position is Mount of Transfiguration. Roman Catholicism, Mount of Transfiguration. So you're going to have two mounts of transfiguration in Israel. We kind of aim at this one. But Mount Tabor is the other one. Then south of Tabor is Gilead. No, Gilboa, hello. Gilboa. Now it's at the base of Mount Gilboa is where Gideon was going up against the Midianites over here. They were coming in and raiding. And Gideon is told by God, have the men drink out of the water. And whoever puts their face down in the water, tell them to go home. Whoever stays on one knee and brings the water up like this and is watchful, that's your man. First God told, remember, whoever's afraid, go home. And a bunch of them went home, only 10,000 left. It was like, what? Now he's got 10,000. God says, that's still too many. You're going to take credit for your victory. Whoever brings up water, those are your guys. If I'm Gideon, I would say, guys, let's get a drink. Let me get first. And I would go on one knee and I'd say, this is some good water. This is how you get this water, some good water. So we don't know what he did, but we do know of the 10,000 guys, 9,700 of them buried their face in the water. To which Gideon, I'm sure, went, oy vey. You guys all go home. And he's got 300 guys lapping water. And he's got to be thinking, seriously? Seriously, 300. That takes place at the base of Gilboa, at a place called Harod. It looks like Jared, J-A-R-R-O-D, but it's Harod. Harod Springs. It's on the south side of Mount Gilboa. Mount Gilboa is also the place where Saul and his sons were killed when they battled with the Philistines. They died on Mount Gilboa. So Gilboa is significant for us. Mount Carmel is significant. Remember, that's where Elijah battled with the prophets. So we have the Mount of Transfiguration, traditional Mount of Transfiguration, the battle of Elijah with the prophets, Gideon at the spring of Harod, as well as Saul and his boys dying on this mountain. So now you're starting to see, this is where these things kind of take place. You kind of see where it goes. When they kill Saul, they then go to a place over here, a little town right here. It's not, we don't do anything with it yet. We probably should have, but we didn't. But it's a town right there that's called Bet Shean. Bet Shean. In the Old Testament Bet Shean, the Philistines took the bodies of Saul and Jonathan and the other sons of Saul, and they put them up on the wall of Bet Shean. And they just hung them on the wall, completely disgracing the royalty of Israel, showing that we got this. So the Philistines came all the way from Philistia, all the way to Gilboa, defeated Saul, and put their king on the walls there. The people of Israel didn't do a thing about it. They're like, oh man. But you remember who did? Anybody remember who did? Yeah, good. That's excellent. Someplace over here, Jabesh in Gilead. Remember where Gad and Gilead, and we call it Mount Gilead? Gad and Gilead are sometimes used interchangeably. So Jabesh, Gilead just means there's a town called Jabesh that's in Gilead. And there's another town called Jabesh over here. But Jabesh, Gilead is somewhere over in this region. Jabesh, and it's in Gilead. Well, the Jabesh Gileadites hear that Saul and his sons are on the walls at Bet Shean. And they freak out. Remember, Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin down here, right? If you've read the book of Judges, maybe you remember when that concubine was killed in Benjamin, and the owner of the concubine sent a piece of that ox to all the different places in Israel. So this is what happened in Benjamin. They raped and killed my concubine. we need to come up against Benjamin. And they said, oh, that happened in our land. That should not happen. And all the tribes gathered against Benjamin. They had this major war. They almost destroyed all of Benjamin. Before they went into battle with Benjamin, all the cities made a vow saying, we will never give our women to marry anybody from Benjamin because of what they did, ever. So they made this vow, and they have this big battle, and they almost destroy Benjamin, the entire tribe, in the book of Judges. 600 men left out of the whole tribe. So Benjamin's got 600 guys, that's it. No women, no children, 600 men, that's it. That tribe's going to die off. Because we took a vow with God that we would not give our daughters, our women, to Benjamin. That means that tribe's dead. It's gone. They say, wait a minute, did anybody not sign up on that? And they go, wait a minute. Jabesh over in Gilead, they didn't sign up on it. Uh-huh. So they end up with some of their women marrying some of these Benjamites, which means Benjamin men married Jabesh and Gilead women. Saul was from Benjamin after this. This is family. This is his great-great-grandma's family. I mean, this is blood. So when the Jabesh Gileadites hear that Saul is on the wall, they go over at night, take his body and the body of his kids off the wall, bring it back to Jabesh, cremate his body because they had beheaded Saul. They just had his body. His head was gone. And they had his beheaded body sitting on the wall. Risking their life, they snuck up, got it down, brought it back here, cremated him, and gave his cremains a decent burial. No, Jabesh Gileadites. From Gilead. Gilead did this. Jabesh Gileadites. Because of the tie they had with the Benjamites and with Saul. It was also Jabesh Gilead. If you remember when Saul came to power, the Ammonites came over to Jabesh, surrounded him and said, guys, this is when Saul first became king. They said, Jabesh, unless you poke out your right eye and give us a bowl of right eyes of your men, we're going to kill all of you. Because without your right eye, you can't shoot a bow, you have no depth perception, you can't fight. We want your right eyes. And they're like, give us some time to think about that. They send a messenger over to the new king, Saul. Saul, they want our right eyes. That's family. Saul says, wait a minute. Rallies, he sends, just like before out of Benjamin, this time he sends it out of his center. He sends to all the tribes, this is what they're doing, let's go. He rallies them. They go over there and they nail the Ammonites and set these guys free. It was family. So Jabesh Gilead and Saul and the Benjamites have a bond. That takes place here at Jabesh and Bet Shean, right near Gilboa. That's why Gilboa is so important to us. So Gilboa is a marker on that, Mount Gilboa. Okay, so you got a little bit of the story and Gilboa. Kind of makes sense now? You see how that all fits together? And you know that Benjamin's over here now too, huh? And that's something you guys just know that. Now, it's just so cool. We'll be able to talk a lot of Bible stuff without having to look at maps. This is great. So, Hermon, Tabor, Carmel, Gilboa. You got those? Mount Samaria is over here, and this is just a little hill that gives, remember, the 360-degree view, Mediterranean Sea, the Jezreel Valley, Jordan River Valley, and Jerusalem. And this is where Ahab and Jezebel. That's right. Samaria, Mount Samaria, and the city of Samaria are in the same place. Samaria, the region of Samaria, isn't named Samaria for a while. Not until after the Babylonian captivity. Then this all becomes Samaria, this whole region.
Is Mount Samaria north of Mount Ebal?
Yes, but not by a lot. But it is. But not by a lot. Okay, so here's Samaria, Mount Samaria for now. We'll call these are the mountains we're doing. So we have Mount Samaria. This becomes the capital of the northern 10 tribes eventually of Israel. Then we have Ebal. And right next to it, just to the south, Gerizim. And in between, we're going to come into that city of Shechem, or Sychar in the New Testament. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mountains so far. After Gerizim, we're going to go down to Jerusalem. To the east of Jerusalem is the Mount of Olives. And to the north of Jerusalem, and to the north is Calvary. But Calvary is also known as, it's just part of the mountain of Moriah, mountains of Moriah, also known as Mount Zion. We're going to get into that in just a minute. But here's what it is here. This is, I'm just going to put like this, a.k.a. Mount Moriah, Mount Zion, Calvary. Okay, we kind of got this. You see how that works? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we have Mount Gilead. Mount Gilead, I'm hoping, is below the river. I don't see it, but I think it is. Gilead is over in here. Mount Gilead?
Kind of right across from Jersey.
Yeah. And I think my river's right. My river might be a little bit too high, but I think it's close. Either way. But here it is. You'll find it on our map.
Jabbok River?
Yeah. The Jabbok River, I believe, is north of Gilead, but it might not be. I don't know. And then we have the 3 mountains down here, Peor, Nebo, and Pisgah. Those are the mountains that you should be able to do this on without any problem, right? This all makes sense, yes? Right now? Now we just look at the cities. Again, I would encourage you to start up north, way up on this coastline, way up here, Sidon. Is the river north or south of Gilead? So this is right.
Gilead's above the north of the river.
So he moves the river.
There you go. That's quicker. That's quicker than moving that whole mountain. Come on. Just channel that baby out. So here we've got Sidon up north. This is the Jabbok here. Yarmouth up here. So we have Sidon up here, and then we have Tyre. We have Megiddo coming down the line, Megiddo over in here. We have Damascus over in here.
Tyre is that far north of Megiddo?
Yes. Tyre is really, usually it's in Phoenicia. That map that we had, there was a time when the border moved. I want you guys to remember this border shifted all the time. But Tyre is way up compared to here.
Phoenicia still exists?
It's called Lebanon today.
Oh, Lebanon.
Yep. Yep. So we got Damascus, Sidon, Tyre, right? We're seeing this. What's the next city that we've mentioned?
Which direction?
Any which way, just coming from the north.
Dan, that's right there.
Oh, Dan. We got Dan over here. And then we're coming down, and we come to Samaria, another Samaria. I'll just put the city here. You know it's a mountain in a city, right? Samaria. In the middle here, we have Shechem. My spell check always says that's spelled incorrectly, but that's right. That's Shechem. So there's Shechem. And then we have Shiloh. We have Bethel. We have Jericho. And we have Jerusalem. Is that making sense as you look at this now? You're going, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of have that? Okay. Now, I'm not going to put the tribes on there because that's going to get it all jacked up, but you know there. Yes?
Where's modern day Tel Aviv?
Right here. Right here. There's a place right here called Joppa. And that's where just to the south, just to the south of Tel Aviv, still there. That's where Jonah tried to take off from the call of God. And that's where Peter had his vision with the sheets or the sails coming down, right in the Mediterranean Sea. When we go to Israel, we oftentimes will stay in Tel Aviv, and some of the folks will walk over to Joppa because it's like walking from here to San Mateo, or maybe here to Wyoming, something like that, or maybe Louisiana. Just kind of walks. Beautiful. It's right along the coast. It's nice. You did the walk? It's pretty, huh?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just like, it's great. Anybody ever been to California? Been to Carmel?
Yes.
That area? That's what it reminds me of. This reminds me of the California coastline in that part of California. It's just like, whoa, it's nice. It's just nice. It's nice. But that's where it is over here. It's fantastic. Yeah. Israel's the best on about 25 different things. It's fantastic. But here we go. So this makes sense now, right? So we've got the mountains, we've got the bodies of water, we've got the rivers, we've got the cities. Now, this is what I wanted to get across to you. Carmel here, there is a valley called the Jezreel Valley that goes to the Jordan River Valley. And it is a big old valley. And that valley is called the Valley of Jezreel, the Jezreel Valley, or the Escalon Valley. Those are the two words, but Jezreel is the one they usually use today. They call it the Jezreel, Jezree, Jezreel Valley. It's the major valley right through here. It's just like nice. There are other valleys that come through here. We're going to talk about that in our next section. But I want you to know the Jezreel Valley cutting across this way, because right in the middle on the edge of the valley here is the city of Megiddo. So this is also called the Valley of Megiddo. So the Jezreel Valley is the Valley of Megiddo. It's also called Armageddon. So Armageddon and the Jezreel Valley are one and the same. So I just want you to be aware of that. So that's where that comes across there. Okay.
Israel is between Tabor and Gilboa.
It is. Tabor is to the north of the Jezreel Valley. Tabor actually forms, if I want to be more exact, don't change it, just so you know, now that I drew the valley, I'm moving a mountain, sorry. But it's the north and southern boundaries of the eastern part of the Jezreel Valley, going down to the Jordan River Valley. It's the northern and southern boundaries of the Jezreel Valley to the eastern side of the valley. Yep. Does that make sense now? So now, Don, you've been here. Wouldn't it have been cool to know this?
Yes.
When you're standing on Mount Carmel? Because if you remember, he was showing, we were talking, so I'd say, that's Tabor, right? He'd say, that's Tabor. I said, then that's Gilboa, right? Gilboa, yep. That means that's Nazareth right over there, right? Yep, that's Nazareth over there. That was what we were looking at. From here, we were looking at these different mountains because you can see all this from Carmel. So it just kind of went, and you can see how the valley went. So that's, well, I want you guys to learn this stuff. It's going to help you in reading. It's going to help you understand the movements in the different books as you read through it. And when you go to Israel, it's going to be like, whoa, I know what that is. And it's going to be pretty good because most tourists don't. But
Mary, could you see like Tabor?
say that again, Dina, I'm sorry.
From if you're in Samaria on a mountain,
Yeah, here?
you see all the other mountains.
You do from here. Carmel, this is probably the second highest of the mountains, I think. And there's an observation deck where we look this way. And it's pretty sweet because you can see all this.
Were we up there?
Yes. Yep. That's where we were, right here. Looking at all this stuff. Yep, that's it. Yeah. This is such a small mountain. It's like a hill. So it's like, can you see this from this little mesa? This is pretty small. This one's pretty big. You'll definitely see this. And from here, you're going to see this. For sure. You'll see Hermon. You'll see this.
Is it like looking towards the west or the grass? Is it that far?
What's that now?
Is it as far as like looking at grants like Mount Taylor or no?
From here to,
Vermont?
it's about 70 miles probably. 60, 70 miles. You can see it. You can see it. I was on Nebo. From Nebo, I could see Hermon. I could see the Mediterranean Sea. I could see across the Dead Sea. I could see the Mediterranean Sea down here. And it was interesting because the Bible says God took Moses up here and showed him all the promised land. And when I read that, I used to think that was a supernatural. Here it all is. I stood there and I go, I can see everything. He said, well, yeah, that's what he said. God brought him up here. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, this is cool. So it's kind of cool. So it's just, these different things just come alive when it's just like, okay. But so you kind of see how this works now, a little bit? Now, that's this map. So I want you to kind of know where the Jezreel Valley is and know these things. What we've done so far is pretty self-explanatory, is it not? Anybody confused with anything that we've done up here? Got it. Now, if we were to take this map and make a topographical map of it, if we took this map and turned it this way, so you could be looking at Israel this way, you get what I'm saying? Be like we're down here looking at it, and we're just seeing, okay, let's see topographically. You know those cool maps that have the bumps in them and you can see all that? Let's look at it that way here. So what they do with Israel is they divide it up. And they divide it up into different sections. The first section goes right along the sea coast here. Just like this. Oh, I'm going to do it in green. That's going to be cool. Green, yeah. So it comes along here. And this is today, they still do this. This is what I'm going to call number 1. You can't see that, can you, really? Okay. Call this number 1. Then what happens is it starts to rise just a little bit. It starts to go up just a little bit. So this is like the foothills, kind of. You know, it's going up. And that's the next, and it does that up and down this whole area. We're going to call that number 2. Then they have a big area that's number 3. It actually goes like this. That's number 3. Then they have number 4. And then the last is number 5. Now, of course, there's going to be dips and different things, going through this. But overall, if you take this map that we have and turn it like this, number 1's here, number 2, a bunch of number 3, number 4, number 5. When we look at it, if we were to look at it, now we're going to turn the map up like this and make it a little bit smaller. Here's the Mediterranean Sea line right here. There's the waves of the Mediterranean Sea, right? We're looking at it this way now. Here comes number 1. Then it starts to rise, right? Number 2. Then we go up like this. We'll see the tallest mountain in that region, which will be probably down here in Jerusalem, because the land goes up, even though the mountain's not as tall, but the land rises and then the mountain's on top of it. That's number 3. Then it drops down below sea level to the lowest spot on the earth. Right here, number 4. This is number 3. This is number 4. Then it shoots way up above sea level like this, and that's number 5. So that's kind of how it goes. We're at sea level number 1. It starts to go up number 2. It goes way up. That's the mountain region of Israel, number 3. Then it goes into the Jordan River Valley, the lowest place on earth, number 4. And then it goes to the Jordanian Plateau, which is really high. Golden Heights are part of that up in here. Yeah, that's right. That's all part of that plateau area. That's right. So there's names for each of these. We have the coastline, or the coastal plain, just coastal area, coastal region you can call it. That's number 1. Number 2 is called the Shephelah. S-H-E-P-H-A-L-A-H, I believe. It might be Shephelah. I think it is. S-H-E-P-H-E-L-A-H. That's right. Shephelah. That's number 2. That's this little raised area. Good farming in the Shephelah. Good farming. You've heard of the Rose of Sharon? The roses and the vineyards. A lot of that takes place in the Shephelah. It's excellent, excellent, excellent growing in this part of the land right here. Then we go to the mountain regions. Notice most of the mountains. Samaria, Carmel, it keeps going like this. So Carmel, a little bit of Carmel, but it goes out to the sea. It's the only one that kind of breaks that. Ebal, Gerizim, Gilboa, Tabor, Calvary, Olives, all those mountains are in number 3, the mountain region. The highest point of all Israel, apart from Hermon, is Jerusalem, the Temple Mount. Isn't that something? That's when you read the Old Testament, they're always going up to Jerusalem. They're over here, and so we're going to go up to Jerusalem. We're going south, but they're going up to Jerusalem because they're dealing with the topography. Everything goes up to Jerusalem. That's why the Psalms are called, the Hallel Psalms are called the Songs of Ascent. You're going up to Jerusalem. Those of you who went to Jerusalem, remember we were in the bus, we're going through those mountains and we're going through those tunnels, and they're playing the Israeli music and we're getting all ready. We're going to Jerusalem, we're going to Jerusalem. It's one of my wife's, Connie's, favorite times. We're coming through there, but remember we're going slow because we're going up. We're going up and then, bam, there it is. That's the high point in this whole region. So you go up to Jerusalem. The mountains of Moriah, up to Jerusalem. That's all up there. Then all of a sudden, it drops down. Those of you that went, you might remember, we went to the Dead Sea. All of a sudden, we start winding down towards Jericho, and we're going downhill now, man. We're going downhill, downhill, downhill. Then as we went to the Dead Sea, we continue to go down, 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 down. This is the lowest point. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on the planet that is above seawater. So, Don, when you walked out of the Dead Sea that time, you didn't see it, but you were walking out in the lowest spot. Not only one of the low points of your life, it was the lowest spot on the planet. That's the lowest place below sea level without being underwater, the Dead Sea. So that's this big drop right here. So you see how that kind of works? This is the Jordan River Valley. It's very low. And it's flowing from Mount Hermon. One of the sources is Mount Hermon, another is Caesarea Philippi, another one's over here in Lebanon. The 3 sources of the Jordan River. They flow to the Sea of Galilee. This is continually, if we're looking at it, it's going downhill all the way to the Dead Sea. So the Jordan River is just slowly flowing downhill.
So what do they call number 3?
Number 3 is the mountainous region, the mountain region. Sorry. Mountain region here.
It's a low region?
No, that's called the Jordan River Valley.
Okay.
This is just the mountainous region of Jerusalem, the mountainous region. And then this is called the Jordan River Valley, number 4.
And then number 5?
Just a second, we're getting there.
Oh.
Harvey wants to get out of here, man. No, got to slow it down now. Now, the Jordan River Valley, remember we said Mount Hermon and Caesarea Philippi? Remember Dan, the region Dan was up here, the tribal region? Jor means to descend. That's what Jor means in Hebrew. To descend. Dan. So this river is just descending from Dan. That's what Jordan means. So it's just descending from Dan. There's going down, going down, going down, going down the Jordan River Valley. Which is interesting because that means if the tribe of Dan hadn't moved up there, it wouldn't be called the Jordan River. It would be called something else. Who knows? I don't know. Probably Jor Naphtali or something. Who knows? But it'd be a weird little river. But it's Jordan. So it's just kind of interesting. But there it is. So we've got that. And then this last one is this big plateau. It shoots way up, almost as high as the top of the mountains in Jordan. But if it wasn't for Jerusalem, this mountain region would be about this tall, like this. It's just that we're looking at it and there's Jerusalem Mountain, Mount Zion. Otherwise, it'd be about like that. This plateau is higher than most of, like Mount Samaria. The Jordanian plateau is higher than the top of Mount Samaria. So when they were on that ivory palace looking at the 360 degrees, they could see the Jordan River Valley. They could see that valley going on down. They could see this beautiful valley here. They could see the Mediterranean Sea, but they wouldn't be able to see a whole lot of this area over here where the Ammonites were and the Moabites because they were on higher ground. So they would see the face going up, but you don't see the top part of it as you look over. And when you go to Israel today, remember we're in this valley, you see it, and then it just goes up and it's gone. So that's what this is over here. When we stayed at the kibbutz, remember at the kibbutz, we stayed over here. And across the road from the kibbutz, remember the hill went right up? That's part of that plateau. That's part of this. So it was up there.
That's the Golan Heights, wasn't it?
That's the Golan Heights up there. That's the heights there. And Jordanian Heights over here. Yeah, that's all that stuff.
What was number 5 called?
Jordanian Plateau. Plateau, A-U. So, we can explain this now, and you should be able to grasp it, I think, with your basic knowledge of the land. Yes? So we're just adding things to it, but it makes sense? Kind of have it? For me, as far as I'm concerned, the textbook, you can get most everything you need from the textbook in the worksheet I'm going to hand out to you when it comes to Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. This is over and above it. And I believe this is going to have as equal of an impact as the stuff you've learned from the textbook and reading. This is going to just shine a bright light onto the scriptures for you. So learn this, and if you do, it's a good thing. It's a real good thing. So not much of a review, I understand, but it's a...
It's like a heartbeat.
It does, doesn't it? It does. It does.
Like a heartbeat, like, goes up and down, back up.
What time does this get out? 8:30? Okay, we'll do the map on Jerusalem next time, not now. So we got this. We got this part done. And I'm going to pass out these stuff that I've graded. It's recorded. And then I'll hand out the worksheet. I'll go over the worksheet with you very quickly. We still should be out of here by 8:30 or 8:32. We should be okay. Rose, Rose, Rose. There you are. Did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
A bunch of them cut. You got a bunch of them cut. That's nice. Nice. Kathy, here you go. Hey, baby. Harvey, this is yours, my friend.
Ah, thank you, sir.
Don and Grace. Tom Nelson. You know, it just dawned on me why teachers have people sit alphabetically. I can never figure that out. Because when you pass out papers, man, it would be easy, because I got these alphabetized. And if you were in alphabetical order, I go, duh. That's what's going on there. Huh? I could never figure out why they did that. That's why they do that. Makes sense. Dina's. James's. Monica. Another one. Monica's. Rachel's. James's. Phoebe's. And Dina's. The Job. Okay. All right. So now we hand out these babies. I do want to walk through this with you just briefly. It's not going to be anything major. Wow. There's more here than I thought. I barely made it. Whew. Just the right amount. Okay. I got your worksheet right there. Okay. On this worksheet, I want to make sure you understand this. Your test is not going to be this. I'm not one of those teachers that here's a worksheet and then give you a test of the same stuff. But if you know this, you'll probably pass the test. But I'm going to put quite a number of questions from the textbook that have not been on the quiz or the worksheets. So I encourage you just to skim through the textbook, look for things, just enjoy it, have fun. But as you're filling this out, I've put it in order. So you have Job first, then the Psalms, then the Proverbs, then Ecclesiastes, then Song of Solomon questions. And you can get it, some of this stuff you can get off your worksheets, some of you can get off your quizzes. But this is not going to be all of it, and it won't be in this format. This is just to help you get it. I'm toying with the idea, so I'm just mentioning, you're going to notice I have a lot on here where it'll say, number 9, write the outline of the book of Job below. It's in the textbook, remember? And then you'll see another one where it says, number 25, write the outline of the book of Proverbs below. And then I think there's one more of those. Yeah, number 30, write the outline of the book of Ecclesiastes below. Wouldn't it be, it almost brings tears to your eyes, but wouldn't it be an awesome question to have just one question that just says, write the story of Job? Wouldn't that be a beautiful question? Because if you know the outline of Job, and you know the names of the 3 friends of Job, and you know the name of that guy that kind of was a mediator, Elihu, remember it? Towards the end, I'm not going to tell you his name, but that guy. So if he's there, and you know that he started off with 10 kids and all this stuff, and it was all gone, and at the end, they got double of everything, except you only got 10 kids, not 20 kids, and you go, well, you might be able to write the story of Job in a couple of paragraphs, just from the outline that you're going to know and memorize, and the names of these folks, and you're going to know about the dialogues and the monologues and how Job says something, and Elihu says something, then God says something, and then Job says something. You're going to remember that, and you're going to be able to write the entire book of Job in maybe 5 paragraphs, or just 1 page. Wouldn't that be something? You could do that. Isn't that something?
Is that
So if it says, write the outline, you might want to know that outline. You see what I'm saying? So this test is not going to be just to fill in the blank. That's what the worksheet is. The only way you're going to get the test is if this is filled out completely. And I'm going to check it. If it's not filled out completely, I'm going to say, you can make it up, take it back and fill it out, and you'll be done for the night. That's cool. And we'll just do it again. So the only way you're going to get the test is for this to be filled out completely. Now, if you turn it over on the back page, notice number 34. Be able to write the history and poetic books of the Old Testament in order. Okay, that's pretty safe, pretty easy. Isn't that something you can say that's easy now? Isn't that cool? Look how much you've learned. Well, that's nothing. Okay, that's no big deal. What? But then look at number 35. Be able to draw a map of Israel during the Old Testament period. Include the following on the map. Now, if you have a pen, get it out, because I'm going to add some stuff on this because we just did. Be able, on that map, one map, Miss Ellis, one map. On one map, write the tribes of Israel, the bodies of water, there they are, the rivers, there they are. Oh, the Kishon. I didn't put the Kishon on here. Shame. The shame of it all. The Kishon comes right down here. Why the Kishon is important is when Elijah was challenging the prophets of Baal on top of Mount Carmel. Remember, it hadn't rained for 3.5 years. They were in a drought. Remember California's drought? They had a couple-year, 3-year drought. Israel had the same type of drought. They had a drought. So they had this drought, and yet he says, get some water and drench my offering with water. It's a drought. This little river, the Kishon River, we see it when we're on Mount Carmel. It's right over here. They run down this mountain, and this is serious. This is like, I don't know, like Manzano kind of. They go down the mountain, get some water, bring it back up, go back down the mountain, get some water, bring it back up, go down the mountain, get some water, bring it back up at the Kishon River. Then, after he wins this battle, he takes these 400 prophets of Baal down to the brook Kishon. That's where he executes them down there. So Kishon is here, this little river going from Carmel down into the Jezreel Valley, the Kishon River. So we want to know that one too.
That was the followers of Baal?
Yeah. They went down there and toast. So that's Kishan. So we want to know Kishan. Yes.
I don't understand.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Let's finish this one up. Okay, so then we get the rivers, the Jordan, Yarmouk, Jabbok, Kishan. The mountains, we've already covered. You should have all those. Pertinent cities, we've covered all those. Surrounding nations. Now, you know them, but let's just make sure we know them. Phoenicia up here.
Yep.
Philistines down here.
Yep.
Aram up here.
Yep. Ammon.
Ammon, the little one over in here. Up on this, it's up in number 5, up in here. So Ammon, Moab, and Edom. Right?
Yep.
So they're pretty easy. But make sure you know them.
Get on one map.
You can do it.
No, I can't.
You can do it right small. Now we're, yeah, Monica?
I have a really hard time putting the tribes in there, like, do you just want us to write?
Yeah.
names?
Like this. This,
You want a border?
nope, no border. This is what I want you to see you do. I want you to put Asher. I want you to put Naphtali. I want you to put Zebulun. I want you to put Issachar. I want you to put over here Manasseh, Gad,
Kind of in the general,
Reuben.
without drawing the borders.
No borders. Just put it. What I would do if it were me, I would bring like 3 different colored pens, a red pen, a blue pen, and a black pen, and I would do my rivers and all my water in blue. I would do my mountains in red, or maybe my tribes in red, or something like that. But I would do something like that, so you can just so it's easier for you, and just maintain it that way. That's what I would do. But that's all I want you to do is just put it on like that. That's plenty good. Okay. So we got that. Now, in addition to that, I want to see the Jezreel Valley. So right on here on your worksheet, Jezreel Valley, because we need that now. The Jezreel Valley, it goes from Carmel down to the Jordan River at that kind of angle. So we want the Jezreel Valley. Is there anything else we need on here? I think that's about all we need. We're not going to worry about this. I wanted to show this to you. We're going to hit this in a very big way in our next grouping, our next study. But let's get the Jezreel Valley on there. We're not going to do it now, but there's a trade route that comes from Mesopotamia right across here like this to go down this coastline, just like this. And where they meet right here, they still have major highways going this way even now. That's still there, but this is the trade route. This is where Matthew sat as a tax collector on that trade route in Capernaum. So they were coming from there. He came that way. There's a trade route there and another trade route that came on this plateau up here, down through Petra, and then down, known as the King's Highway. So you've got these 2 different trade routes. But one is over on this side, one on this side. Not during the mountains, of course not. When you look at the map, if you don't know the topography, well, why didn't they just come over here? Because there's all these mountains. This is nice because it's this valley that goes this way, another valley that goes this way, and then you got the plateau over here. So it's easy traveling. So they just took this trade route all the way over to this lowland and then just right on over into Egypt.
What's that trade route called?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't know. I know the Fertile Crescent is over here, but I don't know what this one's called in antiquity. I just know it was a major trade route. I know this is the King's Highway. I don't know this one. I know this is Jezreel Valley. I don't know what that is. But I do know this, that from here to Mount Tabor, there's another valley here with no name on it. And as you're coming here, there's mountains that surround the Sea of Galilee. It's kind of down in a bowl. And then this is all like this. And right here are something called the Horns of Hattim. And from the Horns of Hattim, you get to see the Sea of Galilee just the way it looks in your Bibles. You see the whole... Did we see that this time?
It is right.
Did we go up the...
Capernaum? Yeah.
No, but from this other end, Capernaum's over here. Did we go over here? Did we go up and look down on the Sea of Galilee? I don't know if we did or not. Maybe not. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. But that's like fantastic. We'll do that probably next time. That's good. But yeah, Tiberias is down below it. But at any rate, there's the map. Kind of got it? Okay. The rest of the stuff on here I think is pretty self-explanatory except for Harvey's question. Who is the author or authors of the following books? Job, number 1. Psalms, there are 8 different authors in the book of Psalms.
Okay.
I'd like you to put them in order of number 1.
Okay.
I'd like it to be so 2A should be the guy that wrote most of the Psalms. 2B, the one who wrote the second most. 2C, the third most. And number 2H, Moses. So, just go down the list.
Gotcha.
Where was Job living? You know his 3 friends. I think we got all that. Number 7, you want to just make sure you understand that principle. Number 14, does everybody understand number 14? If not, you want to find someone who was here if you missed that lecture, or go online and listen to the lecture on Psalms. What is an inscription as used in the book of Psalms? What did they appear as? When did they appear as part of the Psalms? What was the Thirtle theory? That's the name of the guy that came up with that in the early 1900s. That changed, should have been a D on the end to change, the way inscriptions were understood. What are a couple of scriptural examples outside of the Psalms that substantiate the Thirtle theory? I like that name, Thirtle theory. It's like saying Thurkle. The Thirtle theory. But at any rate, you understand that last part of the question? What are a couple of scriptural examples outside the Psalms? When we taught on the Thirtle theory, we took ourselves outside of the Psalms and found examples in the Old Testament where inscriptions were used to show that the inscription actually came after the event, not before the event. And we went to 2 different scriptures. So you probably have your notes because when we were teaching, you guys are writing like everything. If you go back, your notes are probably there. If not, you can go online and get the tape or just find someone who's got it or get the teaching. Find someone who's got it. But I know you have it. You just got to refresh your mind on that. Over what period of time were the Psalms written? I'm looking for dates.
1450 to 450.
That's right, 1450 to 450 BC. But one of you put the Davidic period. Meh. Looking for, nice try, but meh. We're looking for 1450 BC. That's earlier, all the way to more recent time, 450 BC, 1,000-year time frame, for the most part. So, how many proverbs did he write? You know that. How many books? You know that. We've got all that. There's the outline, the bookends. You know that. Number 27 could be an issue. What are the 3 basic things to remember when reading the book of Ecclesiastes? Could you imagine that question? It's there. You'll find them. But that might be something, make sure you know. Because Ecclesiastes is oftentimes misinterpreted, misunderstood. And people will go in and take a couple verses out of Ecclesiastes and say, that's not cool. And they'll say something that's not true. Well, it's in the Bible. No, you got to understand what it is. So you've got them, but just make sure you understand those 3, because that could be a great question. Why is it so easy to misunderstand the book of Ecclesiastes? Bam, bam, bam. You'll know it. So we got to make sure we get that. And we're good to go. Notice the last thing on page 4. I strongly encourage you to review the textbook and the notes from the class lectures in addition to this worksheet. Hint, hint. Lord, thank you for this group. Pray you bless their study time. Pray specifically for Phoebe because I know she's got a full plate. Woo-hoo! Give her some time in Jesus' name. Amen.